Okay. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us. We are now on episode 3 of our podcast here with Azeem. And this one is going to focus on working with recruiters. So we're going to discuss something with Al Basari. He owns a recruiting company based out of Calgary, Alberta, and he's been in the game for a long time. He's worked with partners and clients directly. We'll hear a little bit from him. And Azeem still is looking for a position within his organization. So he's looking to go from admin to developer. This is going to be a bit of a mock interview and a mock discussion with Azeem, but it'll still add a lot of value to those of you who are admins and looking to move to developers and are open to a company change or an organization change. So Azeem, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us again. Oh, I think you're muted again. Sorry, sir. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Good
Sorry.
morning, Chris.
Thank
Good
you.
morning. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Good,
Go ahead.
good.
Yeah,
Great.
good, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Al, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll get through the short 3 slide deck, and then I want to do one quick call out, and we'll dive on in.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was about 8 years ago or so. I was an agency recruiter working within the tech industry, and really enjoying what I was doing. And then I decided to go in-house back in 2021 to work with a company called Solver Solutions, and they were a ServiceNow partner. Uh, in the year and a half with them, we brought in 70 ServiceNow professionals, consultants. And after that, it was a successful exit for them. They were bought up by Accenture. So once we switched over to Accenture, my colleague and I, we had a conversation about, we're really liking what we did in-house, and we really enjoyed the speed of an agency. So we started spitballing and decided maybe let's create this agency of our own, where it combines the speed of the agency plus the care for employer branding, care for the candidate experience, evidence-based recruitment of an in-house recruiter. And so was born Hammehr Talent Consultants. So since late 2023, we've been working on all things tech, but also have some ServiceNow clients as well.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, it's quite the journey. Good for you. And those are some pretty amazing results. And I think a bunch of us have been through that whole. You have now been acquired by another company. So
That's right.
so that's always an interesting journey. So just want to go through our agenda here. So we've talked about the podcast purpose, which is us trying to help you go to that next step. So in this specific one, we're focused on the admin to developer journey, which includes building the skill sets, making sure that your resume is aligned. That was episode 2. Now we're focusing on how do I get from my resume updated to the interview. And then after that, next episode will be the mock interview stage. Okay, so we'll have some closing remarks at the end. So that is all for the slideshow. But did I stop sharing? Sorry. But before we get going on that, I just want to also call out that somebody made a pretty cool little graphic here. So let me actually, it looks like it's like a little video as it keeps playing. So just wanted to say thank you. That's so cool. Thank you for making that. I am not artistic, but like you can see like the little white piece here, nice touches on it. So greatly appreciated. Thank you. Do you want to give a shout out to the marketing person who did this?
Yes, Rebecca Blackman. Rebecca, hi, and thanks for
Oh,
doing
thank you so much, Rebecca. Yeah, I loved it. I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I wish I could do that kind of stuff. So, and the flipping in there. I like the paper airplay too. A lot of nice touches. Okay, so let us go back into this. So, how would you say we start? So I've got my resume updated. I'm confident that my resume is ready to be sent out for applications, and I've applied as many as I can that are applied. My first question is how much can I stretch it? So we've all seen the must know 800 applications and all these job postings that include all of those types of things. I got to know SOAP and jQuery and all these technical things. Honestly, I don't know most of them. Some of these developer postings, I'm like, I don't think I have all the skills to get it. So, how far can I stretch that reasonably and still have a chance?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's telling about job descriptions. If the master architect wouldn't also have everything in there, so job postings, they some of them would have everything in the kitchen sink in there. They just throw everything they can. It becomes a wish list essentially. So typical rule of thumb comes that if you have 60% of the requirements, go ahead and apply. Uh, that should be enough to maybe start a conversation from there. Now, there are some other tips and tricks I'll go over afterwards, but if nothing else, if you feel like you need 60% of it, go for it.
Oh, okay, that's a great tip. Okay, so
Yeah.
that was a different number than I thought. I think a lot of us also feel many times that I got to have at least like 90 or 95%. So that's a little comforting to hear. You know, I don't have all of it, but I can get there. And that was another piece, that you need to make sure that if they're looking for specific things, that you have to be able to get there and get there within a reasonable amount of time. Meaning, I want to make sure I can close those gaps or get that certification, within 3 to 6 months at a minimum. Is that fair? Would you say, Al?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a goal and there's something already in play, I would definitely consider that.
Okay, great. Okay, so what would you say then is the next step? So I've cast my net, I've applied.
Mhm.
How do you see the journey going?
That's a good question. So I was thinking of maybe even working backwards and asking
Oh, sure.
if there's any challenges on your guys' side from your previous experiences of having applied. Uh, what struggles have you guys faced?
Go ahead.
So, majority of the time, what I have experienced that, like how we are saying, it's like a wish list type of job description. And when you apply something, it's I have experienced that in the past that I would receive a call from the recruiter and they would say, "Oh, your resume is great. I think you good potential for this job, but I want you to add those things into your resume." Which I feel sometimes very uncomfortable. That why would I fake something or change something in my resume, which I have no idea as well. So I don't want to go in front of
Mhm.
interview panel and look idiot if they ask me a question. So how would you deal that type
So,
of
so
situation?
can you give a general example just to add some more context? Not specific, just a general example of what they were asking you to change.
So for example, I like BMC Helix. I think it's new in the market. I work with BMC footprints in the past, and I work
Mhm.
with Remedy and all. And I in the past I have experienced that recruiter call me and they say they specifically asking for BMC Helix. So I say I never worked on that tool. They said no, just add it just for the sake we can push you to the interview. So
Okay. Okay. Oh, I see the reaction from Al.
That's yeah.
So,
So
okay.
that's a recruiter you don't work with again. I would say. Uh, is it fair to say this was an agency recruiter or was this an in-house recruiter?
Was I think agency the third
Okay.
party recruiting. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the issue with agency recruitment is there's just so many of them. And it's not in terms of government, but it's just not a well regulated enough industry. So you get a lot of good ones, but you also get a lot of bad ones, a lot of unethical ones. And the way they're incentivized is they are being paid by companies to make placements, and usually they don't get paid until they make a placement. So some of them can go into super salesy, in this case, super unethical ways to make that placement. Uh, a recruiter can tell you to target your resume. And by targeting your resume, I mean digging deep into what you did before and your own experience on what you actually did, and then comparing it to the job posting, and then trying to bring those up so that you're being comparable to the job posting itself, but never make something up. Yeah, best case scenario, they just don't believe you, and they never call you. Worst case scenario, you get the interview and now you're stuck having to talk through this task that you've never done before. So that's really setting you up for failure.
And I think you kind of nailed it, Azeem, as well, saying, you felt uncomfortable. So your gut check was ringing a bell there saying, I don't know. And that is a thing that I've seen as well in a few of the recruiters. I'll caveat that with saying it is by far the not a lot of people versus the overall ecosystem. So yeah, there are, everybody's got a few bad apples, the developers, admins, everything in ServiceNow too. So there's a couple here, and that's a good flag to call out to say, hey, if that's happening, if they're asking you to effectively lie on your resume, like Al said, it is setting you up for failure, at least in the interview, if not the technical interview phase, because the technical questions are hard enough. I don't need to try to learn a brand new technology through Google with 3 days notice and then get, a real world scenario question and not to quote you, Azeem, but to quote, look like the idiot or look like an idiot. No one wants to do that, especially in an interview. So.
Okay.
Are you having any other struggles, Azeem?
One other question is that sometime I have experienced this as well, that sometime recruiter, they try to push you and they said we need your updated resume, and if you send them and there's something missing. I have this also experience with recruiter that they told me, uh, can we add one or two line in your resume? And that's like also for me, it's kind of very unethical and red flag. So I try not to move into that type of, even I don't pursue for those type of roles. So that's another thing which I experienced with a couple of recruiters, that they say, can we add one or two liner in your resume? And
Weird. So the adding one or two lines is, in this case, it's something that you would have done before, but they're asking if they can write it from their side.
yeah, because they ask you for your updated resume. I send it, and then they say, "Oh, there are some things. Can we add one or two liner from our side?" Which I feel also not comfortable on that. So
Of course, yeah, you want to be in control of your candidacy. Really, a recruiter's function should be to present you the job as is, and then to present you as is to the company. They're trying to make sure that both sides are fit for each other. Now, in this case, if it's something that you're like, oh, I just need to make this change quick, are you okay with it? Even in that case, it's weird and iffy. If you go for it, I would say, well, send it to me first. Let me okay it before you send it over to the client. Always always know what you're being submitted for, especially on your resume. Now, of course, recruiters do their own pre-screens and they have their own interview notes. Those ones they'll send over to the client. But for your own material, for your own resume, I would ask for more control on that for sure.
Yeah. And I've gone through the same thing where, they've asked, oh, can I add a couple things or make some tweaks? I say yes, but please send it to me first for approval before you send it off to anybody. So that one's, yeah, as long as I get the final approval rights, I'm kind of okay with that one, Azeem. So, that one in the future, if you're ever, and I'm talking way future for you, would be something that I wouldn't call a red flag. And I did have a couple recruiters put stuff in that I was uncomfortable with, that were specifically targeted to that role that I didn't have, skill sets I didn't have. And these, we discussed it, we pulled that out before the submission. I ultimately didn't get the job because those are critical pieces that they needed, and that's okay. But I didn't want to be submitted and appear to be doing certain things that I had zero skill set in. and we, it worked out okay from the relationship side of things for us, but ultimately the job just needed skills I didn't have.
And one more question I have, like, I have seen this recently that one job posting, different companies advertise like with like showing multiple employers or like multiple job postings are out there. So, what is the best place or best way to look for a job opening if you are searching?
Sorry, unpack that for me. So it's the same company posting multiple jobs, or there's multiple jobs?
No, one
Right.
job, it's one job, but it's advertised as different employers, like various companies advertise with. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So it would be like the same wording, same job
Yeah,
posting, but it's
yeah.
coming from different. Um, Maybe it's one is the actual company that is going to be hiring for internally, and then maybe they hired like a staffing company, and that staffing company got a little lazy and copied and pasted the same job posting. Uh, where you would go from it, I mean, there's uh, cons, benefits and cons on both sides. If you want to go through the agency side in that case, there's the benefits of you can establish a relationship with that agency, and you can also build into their network. So while we're talking about this role, they also have access to other clients, other opportunities as well. So you're building a relationship while you're talking about this company, and you can utilize that as well. If they're deciding to put you forward, they're putting your resume directly to either the HR or the hiring manager. So it's getting in front of someone's eyes instead of going into an ATS system. Uh,
Sorry, can you unpack ATS system a bit for us?
yeah, ATS system is basically the recruitment software where applications would go, and that's where the database would be of all the resumes and applications.
And
Uh,
for newbies like myself, what does ATS stand for? Is that okay? Sorry to ask.
yeah, applicant tracking system. I'm glad I remembered. You just put me on the spot there.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry, I knew.
no, good. So yeah, pretty much there's all these different types of applicant tracking systems. Now, I don't know where this started, but there's this idea of like if I put my resume in, it first goes through the applicant tracking system and they go through keywords and all that stuff. So the system like rejects me automatically. It doesn't do that. There's no system in which it does that so good that it would replace a recruiter kind of thing. A recruiter would still need to go through that application and look through the resume themselves. Uh, but also getting back to your question though, uh, potentially the benefit of applying directly to the in-house company is you're removing that extra step too for yourself. Potentially, they can move a little bit faster on that end too. Really depends on the type of relationship. Again, as I mentioned, there's good recruitment agencies, bad recruitment agencies. The bad recruitment agencies, if they don't have great relationships with their end clients, you might struggle to get feedback on time or get the appropriate uh, interview timelines. You go a little bit maybe faster directly with and interview with them. But if you're feeling like you need an advocate, if you feel like you need somebody that is going to be helping you with your interview prep, with your someone's going to do a final check on your resume before they submit, that would be a good place to go for with the recruitment agency side.
Okay, that's very good. Okay, Azeem, any other questions? Yeah. Oh, sorry, muted. Did you mute yourself?
Perfect. Thank you.
There we go.
One more question about how critical is right to represent it when you authorize someone right to represent. Is it for that one particular job or opening, or then you kind of signing your life away with that one recruitment agency?
That is a great question. So it's not a legally binding document. So if you agree, and then you want to go outside of it, now it's a relationship maker, or relationship breaker. So you do have to be careful with that. If you've told an agency, yes, I'm fine with you to represent me, best to just stay with that agency and be represented. If something is just super wrong, there's just really something unethical with that recruitment agency maybe they gave you the right to represent and then they told you to change your resume in unethical ways. I would say like, hey, I'm not comfortable being represented by you guys. I still think that would be in your right to go a different direction, go either directly or work with another recruitment agency at that point.
Okay, no, it's interesting because I've gone through the whole right to represent as well, and none of us are lawyers. This is not legal advice. Just saying that. I
Yeah, that's
do
a good
work
point.
with a law firm. So I just want to make sure we're all okay. And just touching back a bit more on that previous question on the copy paste thing. So, I get this probably once or twice a week is, oh, there's a new architect role that's opened up. And I get a copy paste from like 6 or 7 different recruiters, all different agencies that are all identical. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. Now we know who's got contracted out to find this role. So this is common. It will help, or sorry, it will happen. But like Al was saying, once you start to build a relationship with a recruiter, chances are they're going to be part of that network anyway. And Al, is there any collaboration that happens between recruitment agencies? So let's say your recruitment agency isn't directly contracted to find this position, but perhaps you know somebody that was. Do you ever work together to find somebody?
I love that question. Yeah, we do. Hammer does. We have a few people that we're just friends with, and they have their own recruitment agencies, some smaller, some bigger, and we'd love to partner with those people. At the end of the day, if I feel the candidate is good and I've got a good relationship with this candidate, if I don't have the opportunity, I just want to see them succeed, and so I send them over to these other recruitment agencies to help out, or maybe some clients or prospects as well. And in those cases, be like, hey, maybe I don't even need to collect a fee. This person just needs help. Just can you look at their resume and make some connections, or I can just make an introduction that way.
Oh, nice. And you get the karma points for it too. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
also great. Okay. Azim, any other questions?
So since you guys specialize with ServiceNow recruitment, so how you screen out a candidate from admin to developer? Like what sort of questions you ask, or you have some checklist which you go through to see
Mm,
that it's a
it's a really good question. That might be something that's a bit tougher on the agency side. Obviously, agencies they're charging good amount of fees for placing candidates, so uh, clients are going to have higher expectations, and they're going to want to see someone that is either very much they're ready for the next step, or they already maybe are almost like making a lateral move in some ways. They want to see really strong candidates. So how do you come across as a strong candidate? Funny enough, I would say yes. Obviously, your technical knowledge is going to be important, but almost more important are your ability to think critically, your ability to problem solve, your ability to learn and adapt. These are anything that's like cognitive nature. The more complex a role gets, the better predictor cognitive abilities are for the candidate to be successful in that job. So if you can find a way to demonstrate that you're very evaluative of the things that you've done, uh, and maybe you picked up something new to apply, and you're sharing that knowledge, or you're relating back any technical tasks back to the business impact. These are really going to show that okay, you're that senior level mindset. You're ready for that next step for sure.
And speaking of that, how does that also factor in with your communication skills? So being able to communicate to different audiences, both the business and technical, and also being able to, translate between the two. That's a large part of my job is taking something technical, being able to communicate to a technical team to implement it, and then also being able to communicate to the business to say, this is the solution, this is why we're doing it this way, here's all the benefits, and here's how we mitigate the risks. Is that something that's important at this stage?
100%. Because Azeem, I know from the previous episodes, your preference is to essentially go towards the architect route, and potentially go, and that's eventually once you get down that road, you're going to be more in that consulting space as well. A good consultant, I don't think this is even unique to ServiceNow, but a good consultant overall, they push back. They don't just say yes and do what they're told to do. So you need to know exactly how to speak to maybe non-technical people who think they know what they want, but you have to be like, hold on, that might be over, like too much customization you're asking for, or maybe think about like down the line in the future, if you want to do an upgrade, that these are the problems you're going to face if you go down this route. That's going to be huge. Absolutely. The way you're communicating and not just communicating, but influencing, because you got to make them believe that you're that subject matter expert, so that they trust you. Those are going to be huge in your role.
Excellent. Okay, Azeem, any other?
No, those
No?
are the questions I had. Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so let's hand it off then to Al. Can you describe the journey and in each of the steps, kind of break it down for us that Azeem would take? So again, he's got his resume done. What does he do from there? I assume he applies, and now we know we're looking for 60% minimum of what they see in the position wish list, I'll call it. And then you're safe to apply to it with, you know, managed expectations, of course. So where would we go from there?
Great question. So this is where maybe I'll share a little bit of my challenge on my side, from what I see once somebody applies. So there's an unending amount of messaging that I get. I wake up to at least 2 messages throughout the day. I'm getting multiple messages every hour. I get messages at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. Like, it's just constant. And I can tell you from memory what 99.9% of those messages are. Hi, Al. I noticed you worked at Hammehr Talent Consulting. I'm interested in the ServiceNow developer role that you have posted. I believe my background in hopefully ServiceNow makes me a good fit for this role. And then there's always a second paragraph. Can we meet and discuss this role further? Appreciate your time. Best regards. This message is so templated, and that's the only thing I get. The only thing that changes from these unending messages is just the sender's name, essentially. So that's not a way to build relationships. If you're applying and if you really feel strongly that you want to message the recruiter or message even the hiring manager, you got to go way more personalized. And hey, Al, I noticed you work at Hammehr isn't personalized, or it's not interesting in that way. So what I tell my candidates is you have to shift your mindset. You're not a candidate. If you're job hunting, you're a salesperson. You're selling your skills. You're selling your services to the next potential client, whether on a permanent basis or whether on a contract basis. That part's almost not important in this case. But why that mindset matters is, for example, candidates, they send a resume and hope that they get a response. A salesperson finds a way to start a relationship and start that rapport as fast as possible. A candidate, if they don't get feedback, or if they're not, or if they're getting rejected, they're in a vulnerable state. It's frustrating. A salesperson, they're finding ways to get that prospect engaged, again, as fast as possible. So it's a constant studying of what can I do better. So hopefully my internet doesn't freeze or anything like that. This is one of those,
Nope,
like, if you
you're
take
good.
nothing else away. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
you're good.
So yeah, I'm going to say, if you take nothing else away from today's talk, is have the mindset of a salesperson when you're applying for roles. That will keep you creative, because I can give you some tips, but those are tips that work today. But these are always evolving. Anything relationship based is evolving. There's inflation on this stuff. 20 years ago, I would have said, hey, if you show up to the company and go up to the reception desk and be there in person and say, I'm interested in such and such role, that'd be great. You're showing initiative. You're really putting yourself out there. You do it today, that's creepy. And it's a big intrusion, essentially. So these things, once people start to catch on, they're like, oh, if I do this, it's a positive signal and it's going to make me unique. The more people do it, the more value it starts to lose. So that's why the salesperson mentality is more important than the best practices today that you should be doing. But with that in mind, how do you go about to start a relationship with a recruiter? You got to see things from a recruiter's perspective. What do they value? And overall, what does a hiring manager, what does the company value? And from the second that they realize they have an empty seat, they're losing money. They are losing money in the sense of, well, the productivity that's lost from this empty seat. They're losing money from the overwork of the rest of the team and the quality work that might be going down because work-life balance is out of whack. they're losing money on the resources they need to spend on filling the seat. So they're motivated mainly to fill the seat as quickly as possible in the least risky way as possible. Risky in the sense being that they don't bring somebody that's going to bring the rest of the team down. They're not toxic to the environment, or they're not going to be a liability to put in front of clients. So what is the safest way to fill this role as fast as possible? And that naturally brings up a priority list for companies and for recruiters. First and foremost is exactly what you're doing, Azeem, is they would want to do a promotion internally. That's going to be the fastest and safest way, because you're already in that company, you've already been vetted, you're already succeeding in that company, and it's going to speak to their culture of helping their employees and their career growths. So that would be the first thing that they would look at. Then it would be employee referrals. If there's nobody to promote, well, we still have this team that we vetted that are doing really well. Let's use their network. Who do they know? And then it's okay, let's post the job. So do some external searches. And if they don't have the resources or capacity or the time, they would bring on a recruitment agency like me. So I can unpack that a little bit on the internal promotion side. Sounds like, Azeem, you're doing everything right. You're having the conversations with your manager. I believe there's a SecOps project that's coming up. I think was what you mentioned from a couple episodes ago. Yeah. So yeah, you're putting your hand up for that SecOps opportunity. Fantastic. If your company is also bringing in a consulting firm to help with the SecOps implementation or anything else, start relationships with that consulting firm as well. Again, another trait of a good consulting firm is they are making sure they're training the client and making them, enabling them to be successful post-implementation. So when they leave, they're leaving this environment in a better place than they found it. So there's a lot of learning opportunities. There's a lot of networking opportunities. There's a lot of good things that come in when you have consultants coming into the environment as well. And then with your golden ticket, you got all those certifications. Maybe you don't have that opportunity to apply directly to your current role, but as you're practicing it on your PDI or doing your own personal projects, offer to do like lunch and learns for the rest of the team, sharing that knowledge. You're going to set yourself up as that subject matter expert again. Yeah, you're working for maybe a ServiceNow customer, and they're going to say all the things that, oh, ServiceNow's expensive, we're not going to need everything, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty common. That's the company's mindset, but your managers, your team, if they've got exposure to ServiceNow, chances are they're interested. They're thinking it's pretty cool. They would want to learn. They would want to know more. And here you are, and you have this great opportunity to learn more, and now you can share that knowledge, and you're going to really put yourself in a good spot there. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot. I just want to add that for the lunch and learns, I usually open with reporting workshops, navigating the platform workshops, how to access all the features, personalizing a list, trying to make people's lives easier as they use the platform. Sometimes we come in and we assume everybody knows, oh, I know how to filter and personalize the list. I know how to sort. I know how to group stuff. I know how to build a drill down report. I've shown that feature, which is super simple to do, but there was a time when I didn't know anything in ServiceNow, and I didn't know how to do a drill down report. They're in that same boat, and I've been guilty of forgetting that. Speaking of being guilty, I'm reviewing my initial messages to recruiters now, and that included the general, I noticed you work at so-and-so agency. I think I used that exact language, and now I'm a little embarrassed. So do I reach out and apologize to them, or what do I
Chris,
do there?
for you, you can say anything because you're a master architect. You're one of like
this is before master architect.
Oh, this is before.
Yeah.
No, don't apologize or anything. That's
okay.
I'm getting like 50 messages, in just a matter of a few days or anything like that. So I've long forgotten who's messaged me, and I'm trying to get back to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's the reality of it. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point though. If you're going to send generic messages, you better be exceptional. You better be, like the one of 20, 25 people in Canada that has the master architect. Then you can just send a one-liner and recruiters are tripping over cats, dogs, and children to get to the point.
That's fair. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so just if you're listening, know that I've done it too. If you've done it, don't beat yourself up over it. Learn from this, move forward and adjust, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say, "Hey, I noticed this," or anything like that. Send those generic messages. I will send a personalized one, but Al, I need a bit of help. So you mentioned that starting relationships is an evolving technique, which it is. 20 years ago, you could call anybody and we'd all sit on our landlines, and you had the long cord, and we'd talk for hours. Even 10 years before that, you could just pop into somebody's house. "Hey, I was in the neighborhood. I thought I'd see how the kids are doing." And people would come in for coffee and have some cake.
Yep.
And now you have to text before you phone, and say, "Is it okay to call? Are you free?" And you can't just rock up, like you said, to a receptionist desk with a printed out resume and say, "I'd like to talk to somebody about a job." And sometimes they don't even have a posting. So how do I stand out? Like, what's it as of April 4th, 2024? What would you say is a great example of an opening message to a recruiter? What would stand out to you and engage you? And you
Great
don't have
question.
to give me a word for word. You can just say these elements.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. So if you're going to message somebody, I would say every interaction you have with a decision maker, whether it's recruiter or hiring manager, every interaction you have with somebody that's being bombarded, you got to add value. Uh, so why the generic message also doesn't really work is I know you're using a LinkedIn template. I know it's super easy. For some reason it copies and pastes from the headline. So sometimes the sentence doesn't even make grammatical sense. Uh, I have my background in visionary consultant, open to work, makes me a good fit. Like that doesn't make sense at all. Uh, so if you're coming in with a quick template and you're asking for like half an hour of my time, already you're not looking very good. But if you're coming in to give me value, hey, I just applied for this role. If it helps, maybe actually, if you were applying to other roles, I think yeah, you would send out this message of like, hey, I'm in the administrative role. I think I'm a fit for ServiceNow developer. If it helps, I broke down your requirements and I set my skills in this table to show you exactly how I fit. That's fantastic. You just did my work for me to figure out if you're applying for this developer role and why are you ready for this next step. Uh, or it could be something even simple like, hey, I applied for this role. Here's my DISC personality assessment or something, just so I can show you I'm a more well-rounded candidate. Uh, yeah, here's my blog site just to show my passion and my learnings. Something that is just adding something in addition to your application, not just, hey, apply, can we meet? Can we have that interview, please? That's not going to sell it.
Okay.
Entice me to want to interview you.
And do you look for like a call to action at the end, or like a next steps type of thing? Or is it, because this is like that first message, is this more
Right.
just to introduce and then see if there's interest?
That's a good call. Well, I mean, in this scenario, like if you were
Yes.
doing true sales, then call to action for sure.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah.
good. If you're a candidate and you apply, I know what you're looking for. I know what
Hmm.
the ultimate goal is. It's not a secret that you're wanting to have the interview and you're wanting to get the role, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, and my motivation as an agency recruiter is to move as fast as possible. So if I'm seeing someone with value, I'm calling you like that day,
Hmm.
and we're having a conversation as fast as possible. So yeah, CTA is good, uh, but again, yeah, don't just be careful with that CTA. Some people just say, "Can you forward my resume to your client?" Well, that's not how I work, and already you're giving me a task.
Hmm.
So come about it in a different way. But yeah, overall, if you're a candidate and you've applied to a job, I know what you're going after, and I'm going to try and respect that and get back to you as fast as I can.
I really like that advice on the skill breakdown to help make your life easier, Al, to help you kind of get some of the stuff formatted in a way that you can use it in your work and in your daily life. So that was great. Okay,
Good.
Azeem, any other questions? And it's okay to say no. Oh, I think you muted again. Sorry. Go ahead and ask. You good?
No, all good.
There.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, Al, any other closing thoughts or anything like that before you we end though? I just want to run through and do the sales pitch for you on your website because I love it. So,
Oh, thank you.
do you have
Uh,
anything that you wanted to address or to bring up before we look at that?
sure. I would say the other thing you can do to really stand out, and I'll use an example for this as well, is create your personal brand. You've got an amazing opportunity here, Azim, with obviously going through this podcast here, but also I saw your Rise Up article. I saw your involvement in LinkedIn. So recruiters are seeing this, the things you're doing and what other people are saying about you. Yeah, so getting like recommendations from other people, if you don't have a direct employee referral link to the recruiter, that that stuff still counts. So build that personal brand for yourself. Uh, the story I was going to tell is there was somebody that was an IT manager. They had maybe 2 years of ServiceNow experience. They were very new to ServiceNow. Uh, and on their LinkedIn page, they had a link to their blog site. They had a Medium account. And it was beautiful. It was everything. Every time he learned something, he was posting about it. And he was going in depth with it. Like, this was a critical thinker. This was someone that's putting everything back into context, and very passionate without me even having like called him or talked to him at all. Just already I can tell. So I called, we had a great conversation, brought him in for an interview, and initially thinking it's going to be low level intermediate, and he ended up getting a role as low level senior for ServiceNow. So it matters how you sell yourself, how you create that brand for yourself. That is gonna pay off.
That's excellent. And Azim's got many skills outside of ServiceNow as well. PMP, I believe. He's got a bunch of ITIL stuff as well.
Perfect. Yeah.
All the way. What was the ITIL? Can you remind us, Azim?
I hold ITIL Master. That's the highest level of certification,
Yeah.
and I'm ITIL trainer as well. So I do ITIL trainings.
And just got his PMP, so I think he's outserted me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So okay, so let's look then just at the beautiful Hammehr website so that people can see. Am I sharing the right one here?
That's
I
it.
hope
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Okay. So you can go to hammehr.com, HAMMEHR.com, and you'll know you're on the right place when you see the building teams, building careers. We'll post the link to this when we post the recording as well, if that's all right. Do I have your permission? I don't want to rock up to the.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's just a beautiful website. You can learn about how Hammehr works, what they do. There's even a job section, so you can see what things are going on. And is there any pieces of the website that you want to highlight while we're here?
For sure. Yeah, the job section, of course, is
Okay.
big, and feel free to contact us anytime. So go through the contact portal.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, feel free to send us anything, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Oh, great. So
Yeah.
you'll see they also cover other things outside of ServiceNow. So when you go there, you can, expect to see different types of roles. And now we know we're not going to be. I noticed you work at Hammehr. Can you
Exactly.
call me right now for this job? One last piece before we kind of end the episode is the remote versus the on location. So this is something I see a lot, and like you said, the CMA kind of helps me with this piece because yeah, I personally have a 100% remote policy, but I kind of have an ability to turn down something that is on site, and I've had a couple companies say we will work with you if it's remote, but we really wish you'd come. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to Victoria, sorry. But anyway, how much of a wish list item is that, or is there any wiggle room on that piece? Because I see Calgary, Calgary, Calgary. Hi, Darren. That's my brother. He lives in Calgary. So just wanted to say that's where I was born as well. Anyway, how strong of that is, I see here hybrid,
Yeah.
1 day a week in office, and we don't have to call out a specific one or anything like that, but is there any wiggle room in any case, or is this something that we really as an applicant building that relationship need to take into account and ensure that we're okay with that?
It's a great question. The short answer is it depends. It really depends on
Okay.
the company and what their culture is, what they're going for. I do find ServiceNow partners are a little bit more flexible on working offsite. And yeah, like ServiceNow, it's a SaaS-based product, so like it should be like that shouldn't be an issue to work offsite. But some maybe ServiceNow customers, they don't just have ServiceNow, they have all these other employees to take care of, and they might have a back to office culture or anything like that. Regardless of what the research says, yeah, productivity is actually higher working offsite. So really depends on the culture and how much they're pushing for it per company.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There
Not
could be a
to
chance,
quote
yes.
Dumb and Dumber. Sorry, that's the first time I did it this episode. So
Fair enough.
yeah. Okay, so with that, I think that we've covered everything in depth. I want to say a huge thank you to Azeem and to Al for spending time with us today to cover how you would work with a recruiter in the journey from going to an admin to developer. We've offered a ton of insight. We've kind of, opened the curtains a bit to show what it's like backstage when we're doing this type of thing. There's the magician quote. So we've covered all of those items. So thank you both so much. Are there any closing notes or anything that you would like to say before we conclude?
Thank you again for having me. And yeah, Azeem, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me.
So
Excellent.
thank you very
Okay.
much. It was pleasure
Yes.
and really informative. So yeah, definitely I will reach out. And one other thing which I picked up our conversation, Chris, I need you to put some recommendation in my LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Of course. Of course. I will do that today. Yeah. Let's talk. We can talk offline so that I can make sure that I highlight things that we're both comfortable with on that. Maybe we'll have to do a live coding session together.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. And thank you, everybody who's listening to a recording right now. So, with that said, thank you. I appreciate
Thank
all
you.
of your time. And we look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a
So
great
Take
day.
care.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Take care.